What is happening, YouTube? On behalf of the fourth wave, my name is Immortal Coil, your future minister of whiskey mysticism, coming at you with the most savage take on modern pop culture and the news of the weird. This is not a show for children, so put your little kids to bed. Make sure you have yourself a blankie and a drinky poo, and then come have a conversation with the adults.
You know what, man? I think a lot of parents are ready for that. A lot of
I
parents are ready.
I really think so too, man. This is my co-host, one of several, which I hope will join us tonight, Mr. Sporking News Podcast. How is everything in Sporkland, my friend?
Sporkland is good, man. It's good. See, I'm in one of those jobs that's still going. So I'm working, my wife's working. We're trying to teach our daughter kindergarten. It's a lot, man. I'm being our kids' play dates right now. They gotta get this thing back up and running soon.
Yeah, I had no idea being an asshole on YouTube was essential.
It is, right? No, that's my passion, bro. That's my passion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we can tell from everything that you do, man. Your star is rising in the fandom menace, and
oh man, I don't know about that, but I do know, and I hope Steven is listening, that Drunk 3PO is my best friend.
Oh, he is now.
Yeah, we become what we like to call BFFs or besties. Whatever. No big whoop.
BFFs. Yeah. There's a little known story that a Drunk 3PO had to wear a Captain Marvel, like a Brie Larson, a pro Brie Larson shirt to Captain Marvel at its premiere. And this is back when he wasn't quite as famous as he is now, but those of us who remember will celebrate that victory.
I mean, you guys all came in around the same time, right?
Around the same time, yeah. And I have to give it up to my brother, Black Angus Reviews, for kind of grouping us all together. So author Stephen Walton, Lethal Lightning, Drunk 3PO, we were all like kind of in the same nucleus of potential. Yeah. And man, they really grabbed that horse and rode it home. So
yeah,
props to them.
What? I got to give you credit. That whole crew right there was always so. When I first started, and Steven and I started talking, and I made my channel. It was Angus, Gaze, and I don't remember who the other person was. But when Steven had me on, those guys actually came on to support my first time ever on a live stream. So I'll never forget that.
Yeah, they're very open and encouraging of new talent. So definitely the fourth wave is a good place to start, but reach out to those other channels because they're very generous. Hail Comics Gate. We're just we're interested in new talent and fresh perspective because despite the trailblazing path, we need new takes on things.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. Well, so we got a couple of strange stories going on, even since that groundbreaking show you guys had yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, really serious news, and I heard it echoed by the likes of Doomcock and Drunk 3PO, who we mentioned about the Galaxy's Edge thing. Man, you guys you knocked it out of the park, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I think we're all just kind of wishing that we had gotten that experience.
Yeah, and it was really nice of Drunk 3PO to come on and talk about how it's set up and how it really runs and show that video. I mean, if you watch the replay, you saw that actress, and I hate, she's just trying to make a living and probably doing what she's told to do, but literally just blasting past that kid. Like not even like a you're the new rebellion and taking off. Nope. Just go on. And it's sad, dude. It's sad.
Yeah. So do you guys have your own channel dedicated, or is it just on Stevens? Where do we find the Rogue 4?
So Rogue 4, which we are kind of looking at an official change of name, because there's we got a couple things in the work, rebranding how we like to do. But right now they can find them on Stephen Walton's channel every Tuesday night. I think they start at 6:30. I usually can jump in around 7 o'clock or so, but some of our usual suspects like CJH and Palanuki, those guys they're the best, dude. I mean, they always
Yeah.
support anything fourth wave, dude, and I appreciate that.
Well, so we got a couple of doubters here. Your good friend Palanuki,
Yeah,
who,
yeah.
and your good friend Drunk
Oh,
3PO, he
is it?
says.
I
And
don't
then
know if that's
Scotty, good friend Drunk 3PO, which I
see,
want to read in sarcastic overtones.
but you can't. That one's Scotty, good friend, drunk 3PO. Like he knows. Palanuki might, he's from a foreign land. He might not know what the question mark is for. So, I'm just trying, I'll help him out.
Well, that's good. So to sign up for Scott's school of question markery, um,
Exactly.
you
My
can
my
DM him. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm teaching my kid, grammar and math and all this stuff now. I'm a teacher, so bring it on.
There you go. There you go. So, with all the niceties out of the way, we want to go ahead and start off with our first story, which I saw this on comicbook.com, and the amount of what should we call it, man? Blowjobbery, reach
Mm.
aroundery.
Reach aroundery,
Yeah,
disrespectfully,
yeah.
no lubery, I think is
No
probably the best.
lubery really
Yeah.
just set me off because this is like the Disney polish machine just going
Hmm.
over Mickey's knob like it's nobody's business.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
No,
so
I'm
we're
with you
gonna
on that, man.
go ahead and pull this up. There is actually the first thing you see is a video, and we're not necessarily going to go through the video.
Right.
You guys can check this out on comicbook.com. The title of the article is Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga official trailer released. And this is where you see that Disney is desperately trying to shove their shit further up the ass of the original
Hmm.
6 films.
Yep.
Um, yeah.
I mean,
So
I thought we had all the trailers already because this so-called Skywalker, which we all know as the Palpatine saga, is over.
yes, and so contrived in the final 3 installations, if you want to call them that. Now,
Right.
I'm a big advocate of headcanon. So, like
Hmm.
the first 6 films, the EU, that's pretty much where Star Wars lives for me.
Right.
And much like in as Galaxy's Edge illustrates, that's where their priorities are. And
Right.
if you want to see something else, then you know
Yeah.
elsewhere with the
Well, I mean, like you were talking before, TR4, we went over this
Mhm.
yesterday, how they made a conscious decision and it makes no marketing sense at all to not cater to the people that have been there for the last 40 some odd years, but to try to get a new generation of younger adults, probably in their 20s, and kids, which it takes their adult parents to take them there. But instead of
True.
making it Tatooine, or any other planet that we know of from the original saga, they go with this one we've never heard of before, and they don't allow any of the original cast members there. And they did it on purpose, man, which they don't.
Yes.
But what I just don't get is the marketing. Why would you take, you now have 50-year-old, even older, and some a little younger, with kids and grandchildren
Mhm.
of their own,
Mhm.
spending buku bucks to bring those kids there and give them the time of both of their lives?
Well, because it moved them in their youth.
Right.
Up until A New Hope, which Star Wars was
Hmm.
seen like nothing like that had been
Exactly.
accomplished on film. So
So
it's like,
give it
why
to us.
wouldn't you? Yeah. And it's just like taking your kid fishing or, you know, something big, something like a I don't know, a coming of age story,
Hmm.
which is what that was. And it's funny to me that the timing on this, Scott, is about the same amount of time that it takes to plan a theme park
Right.
and plan a movie.
Hmm.
And so this really crystallizes the idea that from the very get-go, from that video where we saw her lie to George Lucas's eyes,
Hmm.
that this
Right.
was her plan the whole time.
That's the worst part, man. That is the
Yeah.
worst part. And when she's watching him, I used to think when I first saw those, like, oh, look at her looking at him like in awe. And really what she was looking at is just like, I am going to change this is mine.
Yes.
Like,
This is
stop
mine
token.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and the man created it to me. Okay, so I do a lot of Game of Thrones stuff. I do A Song of Ice and Fire. And
Very
it's
good stuff.
well, I appreciate that, man, but it's
Mhm.
it's like, George Martin understands, just like George Lucas, the industry, because he worked in it for decades.
Mhm.
But he gave these two guys, nobodies, Dan and Dave, a chance. And what did they do? Pretty much after the fourth season, just didn't have the material, so that's on George's fault. But they
Mm.
just didn't get him involved in it, and they just made, it was spectacle with no substance. Exactly what this is. So I don't know. You want me to start reading this thing?
Yes, please.
All right.
Uh, if you can, if you
Yeah. Oh,
can
yeah.
stomach
Definitely.
it, and
We'll see how far we get through.
yeah, use your best convincing
I
voice.
will try. Ready? Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is
Son
now one epic 9-film story after the sequel trilogy brought things to a close. With Star
already,
Wars. Yeah, already,
less
dude.
than one sentence, and
Less.
Scott is yeah,
Oh, dude, brought it
right.
to a close. It gave us more questions than anything. With Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker coming to Disney Plus May 4th. Get it, May 4th, everyone.
Mhm.
Ooh, they're so. And
That's
did
an
you
inside reference, folks.
right now? Did
They
you
know
hear?
about us.
Did you hear the part we talked about when we talked about them tweeting out that if anybody uses hashtag May the 4th, they are allowed to use it in their marketing because they consider it their hashtag.
Oh geez, when the
Like
fans
the
invented that.
fans,
I heard
exactly.
that. I've heard that for years before Disney was even a factor. I
Mhm.
remember being on like a geez, like Instagram and MySpace even. Like
Yeah.
you remember MySpace? That's
Oh
something like
God, yeah. I'm 44, brother.
yeah, dude. Like that was something that was totally uh, a fanism, and
Mhm.
these guys are invading.
Right. Right.
All right,
And Black Angus says right now, I'm reading
there he
his.
is. Yes,
Yep.
sir.
And if you want to bring that up and read it.
Yes. He says, I actually don't blame Kathy's decision for Galaxy's Edge. Was there some pride in the move? Sure. It's
Definitely.
Hollywood. But the long term idea makes sense.
See, I don't agree. If you it where is Galaxy Edge? I know someone told me months ago. I don't even remember the name of that planet. So it's Disney. What they could have done was start with Tatooine, and then when they grew this new, trilogy, this new era of Disney, they could have incorporated those things. Keep buying land, keep filling it up, change something different. So they didn't have to start this way. This was arrogance. This was pride. This was her call.
Well, and I hear that. And I think what he's saying is that in as much Star Wars has been something that's been around for
Mhm.
close to 50 years, she was banking on only the Disney stuff. And perhaps, and I heard Mecca say this on the High Council last night. Perhaps it had something to do with George Lucas's return rate. Like you see Darth Vader and everything for a tiny bit at the beginning, but everything
Mhm.
else is blue titty milk, and
Right. Well, they tell
you know,
they tell us he gets what, they had to change it 20-25% or something like that. And
yeah,
if they change that much, he doesn't get a cut, which doesn't make sense to me because he's one of the biggest shareholders of Disney. Would you really
yeah,
want to piss off that guy? So I've always, that kind of just hit me recently. Like, yeah, I could see Disney doing that, but he owns so much stock
mm,
that like piss him off and he can. I mean, remember the white slavers comment that brought
sure,
people, that brought people to our side,
mm-hmm,
so they don't want that.
mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Food for thought. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Black Angus.
Yeah, man. All right, let me try this again.
Yeah,
Fans of the franchise will now have the entire Skywalker saga viewable on one streaming platform, which I got to say is a great idea. To celebrate the milestone, Disney and Lucas have put out the Skywalker saga official trailer.
the
Giving,
Skywalker Saga
yeah, you know what that is?
official trailer.
Didn't they see? It's funny that they're doing this because they already did this. They already
Mhm.
did that nostalgia video where they show Carrie and Harrison and oh my god, why am I
Chewie
blanking on
R2?
no, but Luke's real name. Oh my
Oh,
god.
Mark Hamill.
Thank you so much. I freaking froze there for a second. Mark Hamill.
Okay,
And then,
everybody in the chat slap Scott in the face.
yeah, please throw an S in the chat for me.
Dick slap.
Dick slap, just mushroom tip. But they already did this. They attacked the nostalgia. Oh yeah, you remember that? Oh my god, it's the original Obi-Wan. And then they went to the prequels, and then they did their like 20-second blurb of Skywalker, saga. And it's just, so we pretty much all already saw this. I can't say that definite because I haven't watched it yet because I just don't care anymore. But all right, Skywalker Saga official trailer giving fans of the franchise their first look at the entire story cut together into one. From the beginning of Anakin Skywalker's adventures as a child in The Phantom Menace to Rey's moment of triumph in the rise
when
of
she
Skywalker.
steals the Skywalker name and the lightsaber and Tatooine and
appropriates.
Dances on Shmi's grave, dude.
Yep, exactly, dude. While we may have seen all of these films before, the Skywalker Saga official trailer is the first time we really get to see how, the entire Star Wars episode 1 through 9 storyline officially looks, they throw in that officially shit, looks as a complete piece of work. Yeah, it's a piece of something.
Oh, it's a piece of work.
Yeah, right there. I felt bear nerd fun because he would go, "Oh, it's a piece of something." He goes back to the story.
Back to the story. Hail Bear.
Hail Bear, man. It's something the Star Wars fans have and will keep cutting into their own version of the saga. But it truly interesting to see how it all looks when officially done.
This time is not in parentheses for emphasis.
Yeah, what they're saying is, you people have probably made better fan trailers, but this is the official one.
Oh geez, I can think of two right off the bat.
Right.
The scene 38 with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan like doing the modern looking kind of prequels, and then Star Wars Theory, his fan film.
Right.
Very heartfelt, man. And
oh no, he put a lot into that, man. He put a lot in. I wish he finished it.
Yeah. I think he's still raising funds. I know that he has some sort of relationship with Lucasfilm.
Right.
So hopefully that gets put out, and hopefully it's his own vision.
I also enjoy, there's one, it's about like Maul and his being an apprentice and being dropped off on a planet where there's some Jedis left and he just has to go through them. And it's a challenge. I think it's like the Sith Apprentice or something like that. You should check it out, dude.
That sounds good. I'll put that on my list.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely check it out. All right, let's see. As has become, oh wait a minute, maybe I got it back up just a hair. Nope. As has become the new normal.
Become
the new normal for Star Wars. Fans will likely debate how the complete Skywalker saga does or does not fit together. It's arguably become the number one obsession within the fandom since the Rise of Skywalker release. Are you freaking
okay? So I'd like to thank these 4 lines for tacitly advertising the fandom menace.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean,
that's clear. Like they're like, there's people out there who aren't gonna like this. Yeah. And does or does not fandom. Okay. I'm doing the beautiful mind thing with.
No, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. Start writing on the wall. So let's see. A Skywalker release as people try and track the lines of characters and story continually, like Palpatine's, because it's his story across the 9 films. The situation got even more complicated when you factor in canonized storylines established outside the 9 episodes of the Skywalker saga, such as the Clone Wars and Rebels animated series, the various comics and novel tie-ins. But those were done to go with these movies because anything pretty much pre-Disney isn't a real freaking canon anymore. It's legends. So
well, and here's what that really says to me is like, okay, Rebels and Clone Wars flesh out the story. Okay, you don't need to see Rebels or Clone Wars to get the first 6 movies
Right.
But they put it out anyway just because they love the storytelling, they love the characters. They actually added to the mythology. But
Right.
when we get into a situation where we have to use the novelization of the movie to explain away the shit that doesn't make sense in the movie,
Right.
that's where I see that particular statement pointed.
Well, dude, they literally they have comic books and novels to go with these movies, like you just said, to answer questions that in a self-contained movie we should get the answers to. You know, like if you're doing a saga, I can understand leaving certain things out until maybe the last movie. But if you don't explain anything, like the Knights of Ren, we got nothing on them. So what did they do? They came out with a Kylo Ren, comic book to answer some of those questions. And it's just like, no, we saw those guys in a freaking flash or a montage freaking vision that Rey had when she touched Anakin's freaking sword. And now you're telling me that we barely get to see those guys. All we get is these two freaking stormtroopers or whatever, first order troopers in the hallway go, those are the Knights of Ren. Yeah. That's all we
Well,
got.
I want to ask you a deeper question about this. If
Man.
Rey was a Palpatine this whole time,
Yep.
why would Anakin's saber grant her a Force vision about Anakin's family?
Well, I mean, there is theory, and they did go back to say that Sidious and
Darth Plagueis,
they made her pregnant. They made she pregnant using the Force, for nefarious reasons, not the Force actually creating this child like a godlike, virgin moment. But no, they put her in there. They picked this random, slave girl and said, we're going to make it the so-called chosen one for you. So, if that is it, she's actually related to the whole Skywalker line.
That's interesting. And even being the daughter of a failed clone.
Right. That one, dude, nope, not going there. I got places to be. I can't. All right.
I don't know. Do you have your Snoke in a jar? Do they sell those at Galaxy's Edge, man? How much do those go for? Yeah.
I just don't.
We should ask Strong 3PO. Does he have a Snoke in a jar? Since you're his best friend.
Yeah, my best friend probably does. What gets me though with that one is that if Snoke was Palpatine, because he uses the voice and says, I've been all the voices you've heard in your mind, then he was so powerful as Snoke. Why not just keep filling the essence of that? Like maybe create a body like that instead of these failed clones. And how the hell does a failed clone keep living long enough to have a child and then get hunted down and murdered, even though Palpatine's essence left that clone and went to another clone? I don't get it, man.
Want to say hail Angelus Draven. We got author Stephen Walton in the chat.
Get your ass on here.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody showing up. Let's continue with this reach around.
Yes, sir. All right. So let's just jump to this. Meanwhile, details here. Let me just bring this down just a hair.
Zero comments. I love
this.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, how long has this been out? Meanwhile, details of the Skywalker saga are still being filled in by new projects from the Star Wars franchise. The Clone Wars final season on Disney Plus has greatly expanded the story of Revenge of the Sith and ties between the prequel and original trilogy eras, while comics like The Rise of Kylo Ren and shows like The Mandalorian are fleshing out the time between the original and sequel trilogies. By the time it's all done, fans will need multiple instructional videos to help explain the entire. You know what? That's a valid point. To explain the entire Skywalker saga in full. That's very valid, because you're going to need a bibliography or like the Dewey Decimal System to know what the frig you have to read. So I don't know. But then you have the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga will be available on Disney Plus starting May 4th. And that is it, brother.
Well, here we go. That's quite a mouthful to swallow. It tastes kind of salty and I don't know, smells like bleach.
Smells like bleach. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
geez. Yeah,
I don't know,
the
brother. I don't
I think
know.
I just got AIDS from that article.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is strong in you, young Padawan. You know, I don't even know what to tell you, man. That is just, it's these people. First of all, they think we're excited to see Rise of Skywalker, and I have Disney Plus because I'm not gonna lie, my kids
Sure.
love Sheriff Callie and Ali and Somebody and all these different shows, so it helps me. But who is really like other? I mean, the Raylos are mad. The Phantom Menace was mad 2 movies ago. There's not many people that say this is, the people that say it's the best movie ever. If they really mean that, I am so grateful and happy for them because they got the ending I guess they wished for. But
Mhm.
I lost feeling for this stuff months ago, man. It sometimes gets me mad still because there's that little flare of like, I still love it. But truthfully, I, unless we're talking about it, I don't think about it, man. And I think they're naive to think people care.
Well, let me put this out for you. Somebody like George Lucas, or we talked about George R. R. Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they sat down and thought out to a degree, and I would say Martin did this more so than Lucas, but they both planned a universe for all
Right.
their shit to live in
Well,
and
yeah.
described the functions of the gears and how
Yep.
everything talked to each other.
Yep.
And even as they wrote more material and had to think about what they wrote the first time and how should it relate to everything else, there were tangible links that were believable.
Yeah, man.
But
Well,
the
that's the
the
thing
thing,
right there. Believable.
yeah, the thing that strikes me about Disney Star Wars is that they were more motivated by profit.
Right.
And so they slapped together something that made no sense and tried very they tried very seriously to sweep aside what had come and replace it with their substandard product
Right. They
with a
did.
K.
Well, they did exactly. They did exactly what Dan and Dave did on the last, 4 seasons, maybe not season 6, but like the last 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. They didn't understand the material. They didn't What Dan and Dave they didn't have anymore, but what they did was they thought, okay, people want spectacle. They want the big fight, they want the big confrontation. But the things with George and George, Lucas on one hand gets very involved in the world of the technology, and he created, just like George Martin, a backstory and a history, and understood that and stuck to that canon. George Martin, on the other hand, I mean, he created a true universe, a true mythology that we have not seen the likes of. And these two hacks come out and think all we want to see is dragons flying by, breathing fire, and this and that. I mean, you read Game of Thrones book 1, and there's
Mhm.
barely any true magic in it. The only real magic in it is at the very beginning and the very end. You know what I mean? Like, but it's
Yeah.
still high fantasy.
Well, that's awesome. When do you do your show about that, Scott?
Oh, thanks, man. It is Mondays at 7:15 Eastern. We do we take a couple subjects of, this week coming up, we'll be doing a character by the name of Cold Hands, a character by the name of Benjamin Stark, and this one that's called the Ghost of Winterfell. And what we do is we talk
Mm.
about kind of what's been going on with them up until now and what we think might happen in the next book. That Martin says because of the COVID, he is just barreling through and locked down in a mountain cabin writing away. So fingers crossed. He's 71 years old. He has 2 books
Mhm.
left that we get him, man.
And wouldn't it be funny if he just undid everything HBO did with a stroke of his fucking pen?
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't
I
doubt it.
would love that. I would laugh so hard, and I would, man.
Well, put it this way: the reason George Martin made the wall, and I don't know if you ever watched the show, but the wall in the
Yes,
north that divided the continent from the north to the north, he made it
right.
700 feet tall because he didn't want anyone ever to want to film something like that. He literally sat down and said, I've worked in Hollywood for two decades. I'm sick and tired of like changing what I've written so they can fit it on TV or movies. I'm making something that's so big, no one will ever be able to take it on. And once the material ran out, they couldn't take it on anymore. That's the sad part. He's to blame too, but hopefully he'll give me my 2 books, man. But I do have to bounce, my brother.
Well, we appreciate you joining, Spork.
Yeah, dude. Fourth wave all the way. You know that.
Fourth wave all the way. We also want to mention fourth wave happens on Saturdays.
Yep.
All the main crew is there, and then the Rogue 4 and possible rebranding. So stay tuned.
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
So just keep your eyes out. But yeah, we will be talking soon, brother, behind the scenes. And I'm glad you did this because this is definitely your type of stream. I love it, man. We'll get hopefully next week I can stay on longer.
Yeah. Just hit me up in the DMs, man. We'll figure it out.
All right, my brother. I'll talk to you soon. Hail everybody and
take it easy.
Take it easy, brother.
All right, everybody. Spork and News podcast. Go check them out on YouTube. Go check them out on Twitter. We want to take a moment here to address the chat. Let's see here. So from Palanuki, he became far more critical on it and all the sequels. I saw a stream he did with Fernandez. They sounded like they were part of the fandom menace, really. Now, this is to a point that Stephen Walton spoke to. And hopefully we'll be able to have him answer for this in person. Star Wars Theory is moving into the Shilosphere. He has to like it. Very controversial statement. Actually, Star Wars Theory was one of the people who initially attracted me to the Star Wars YouTube subculture. I thought that his the way that he animated his comic book stories was very thought-provoking, and as it moved on, and I think it was around the time his fan film came out, because he actually approached Lucasfilm at an official capacity to say, hey, I want to use your characters and I want to put this out as a big budget, as far as he was concerned, film. And how do we do that? And they're like, well, you can do this and you can do that, but you can't do this and you can't do that. Matter of fact, Star Wars Theory, his video was struck on like a musical copyright, some kind of bullshit thing, like a week or two after it came out. And then after fan lobbying, it was put back up. But we've also seen him go on to interview the Ahsoka Tano actress, Ashley Eckstein, and I believe he interviewed Sam Witwer, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, he has those connections. But as Steven suggests, do they come with caveats? That's a head scratcher. Let's see here. Endless Draven, thanks for joining us, sir. He says, well, and this is to the Game of Thrones, George Lucas line of thought. Well, even Lord of the Rings was planned out before they actually made the movies, so it felt right. That's the problem with the new Star Wars. They just winged it and didn't plan it out like the original trilogy and prequel trilogy. Well, Lord of the Rings, yes. And I think that this is honestly some of my resistance to watching Game of the Thrones or reading it was because George R.R. Martin, J.R.R. Tolkien, I was like, okay, this is another fucking magical mystery realm that not only Tolkien has mapped out to its utmost ecstasy, but I've been listening to Led Zeppelin talk about it for like 50 years. So what else do I need? Do I need a talking lion? Do I need ice giants? Do I need frozen zombies? I don't know. Now, thankfully, I have fans of the actual works to say no, give it a chance before you shit all over it, which is a sound thing. But yes, to create a good story. And I want to cite my buddy, the Red Gaze, with his Sunsworn epic. He is doing similar research into universe building. And as a fan of both fantasy and science fiction, you have to plan this stuff out. It can't just be like a dude walks into a bar and a girl goes help and some bad guy's there and suddenly the bad guy's like the king of the universe and the guy who walks in the bar wins the princess and gets to be the king of the universe. No, you have to understand how the universes fit together and how all the characters similarly or seemingly by happenstance fall into each other's sphere of influence. So the original trilogy was planned out because it was a couple of paragraphs in George Lucas's brain, and he had to have that sort of thing before he could get into the New Hope, which if you listen to him explain it, he had everything until Jedi in a rough idea, but he decided A New Hope was the thing to do, and millions and millions of people agree. So thank you for that, Andrew Straven. CJH, Potter was even planned out. Yes. I think for all of us who grew up before Harry Potter, when Harry Potter happened, that was it kind of came out of left field. And it's like, why is everybody talking about this? But it hits those same nerves. It's the hero's journey. You get this little kid who lives under the stairs, who can talk to animals, and then he goes to this magical land where everybody knows who he is. She had that really well thought out. And from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, Harry Potter's creator had some sort of like daydream where it was lightning into her head on a train one day. Very curious, very good stuff. Let's see else. Palanuki, he says Star Wars Theory is working on his second fan film. I sure hope so. Ooh, who's this ugly guy?
Hail the fourth wave. Hail Rookie Critic and the Phantom Collective. Hail Angelus Draven. Hail CJH. Hail Palanuki. What is going on, everybody?
Yes, sir. So your statement about Star Wars Theory seems to have stirred the drink a little bit, sir. If you care to elaborate on that a little bit for the
Well, I seen him working on Collider. Look, Star Wars Theory's doing his thing. He had 1 million sub channel when I first started watching him. He tried to toe the line. He said the things that he didn't like. He said the things he did like. No hate to Star Wars Theory. I'm not trashing Star Wars Theory. What I am saying is that I've seen them on Collider. We know where they lie. We know that they are shills. And so he's going to have to toe that line and kind of be in the shillosphere a little bit. And it just is what it is. More power to him. I wish him all the luck in the world. But, understand that when you are live streaming with people that are known shills, people that have attacked the customer base, that have toed that line, that's going to rub off on you.
Time will tell.
Thank
you for that. Thank you for that, sir. Palanuki says, I know that voice. That smooth as butter author Stephen Walton voice.
I'd be right behind you speaking in your ear, Palanuki, if you were a little closer.
Yeah, you can feel the moistness, the deepness of the breath. Sorry, that's my dog who's agreeing.
No, that's my dog, bro. I got people playing video games. I'm the only adult watching the whole house full of kids right now, so I'm gonna do what I can, mute what I have to.
Well, so Rookie Critic agrees with you. Star Wars Theory has been more of a fence setter.
I would agree with that. Rookie Critic, absolutely. He has been kind of a fence sitter, but we've seen videos and statements where he has. But he's kind of like Thor Skywalker before Thor came out the closet. You know what I mean? I've always enjoyed Thor Skywalker, but for the longest time there, he was saying, "Oh, I don't want to be with them fandom menace people," and there's no agenda. And now here we are, a year and a quarter later, and listen to his videos from a couple months ago until now. He just. You have to, at some point, you have to accept it. And you still have people that don't want to accept it. And people that, listen to our shows and come around the chats. And we love those people. Everyone has the right to have their own opinion. That's really
absolutely.
That's really what we're standing up for, is for the right for you to have your opinion. But
yes,
see, when you hear things like Kathleen Kennedy not wanting Mos Eisley be the center of Galaxy's Edge because she doesn't want to cater to the 50-somethings. That's bad management decisions. The Force is female. I mean, people have been saying for the last couple of years, oh, they're coming down on that Force is female t-shirt. That doesn't mean she has an agenda. Well, she's hiring women by virtue of their vagina. She's hiring writers due to the virtue of them not being white men. And then we got Leslie Headland Variety coming out with the Leslie Headland bit, and she's a penis hater. That woman hates your penis. Gentlemen, if
did you say lesbian Headland?
Yeah. Leslie. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I said that immediately.
I didn't. Okay, I misheard you.
So at this point, there's you cannot dispute when so many facts have fallen down, like dominoes over the last couple of years. There's quotes here and there that you can look at, and you can construe something from it, or you can infer something from it, but it doesn't say point blank, that the person is racist or sexist. It just says that they might have a point of view that doesn't align with other people who are more equity minded, more equality minded. But we're at the point now where they're just everybody's getting isolation sickness, and they're just and there's not that much stuff to write about. So when something does come out, everyone gets to examine it. And people that are getting, the celebrities that are getting isolation sickness, they're just kind of popping off at the mouth. They're in and look, whether you're in a mansion, all right, whether you're in a mansion, isolated, or whether you are someone who has lived in the poor class, someone who has struggled paycheck to paycheck, bill to bill, robbing Peter to pay Paul, all of us are going through a bit of isolation sickness. All of us are not in the environments or in the routines that we are used to, and that goes for celebrities too. Whether you like it or not, these are people that get pandered to all the time. They get catered to. They're always right. There's always somebody there willing to give them their whatever they need, to give them a deal, to have them at a party. That's what they're used to, and they're not getting that right now. So, in some ways, people like that psychologically have it harder than we, the plebs, we, the people that work every day, we, the people that feed our children, take care of our children, take care of our elders, have to make sacrifices, have to give up things in order to pay for other things. We are used to the struggle. I think what's killing the working class and the poor class right now is not being able to work, those of us that cannot. But we're all going through the struggle in some way or another. When you have an article like about Leslie Headland coming out of Variety, look, this is if this be true. Let's just say if this be true, because there's been no official announcement from Disney, Lucasfilm. There has been no official announcement. This was leaked purportedly. All right. So if this is true, then it shows a history of hiring bias, of the type of people that that they want surrounding them in the office, that they want at the writer's room. You can go to Ichibaka. Disney Star Wars is dumb. He has
Ichibaka.
Hail Ichibaka. He has got so many articles about individual Star Wars writers, Disney Star Wars writers, and they all have the same type of mentality. White man bad, orange man bad, straight man bad. It's the same thing. So Leslie is just like the apple, the crowning fucking person to bring in there, like the best example of the type of mentality, the type of culture that they want at Disney Lucasfilm. And it is just these penis hating, these white hating types of people. There's no denying it anymore. I won't accept that anymore. I won't accept that there is not an agenda anymore. Coming out of there. Now, if we find out that this isn't true, then joke's on us. Then we just found out, about another shit person in Hollywood. But and that's about where I stand on it. Look, Star Wars, Disney Star Wars is pretty awful. I like The Mandalorian, and I'll be straight up. I like The Mandalorian. I like Rogue One. I like Solo. Yeah, I know that's not a popular opinion, but I did like Solo. I have liked some of the things that's come out of Disney Star Wars. I have. I don't like the main saga, and I don't like what they did to it, and I don't like how they presented the characters of the story, and I especially don't like how they treated the legacy characters. You had one job alone. You had the original actors, the entire original cast alive, all kind of on their way out, most of them on their way out. You had one chance to do it right, and they decided, we want to do it this way. And it was the wrong way to go. All for fandom engineering. And Kathleen Kennedy has, basically, again, with the story about that just got that just was released about her and Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
You know how you cannot read that and understand that she had a vision when it came to engineering the fandom. She wanted to bring in a new customer base that would never give them grief and get rid of the old customer base. And this is supported by people like that have been in the news recently, like Brian Young, who were calling out supporters of the expanded universe shitty and militant because they wanted the EU saved and not turned into Legends. Look, there has been a consistent way of thinking with the people connected to Disney Lucasfilm. So I'm not surprised when I hear a Variety article of Leslie Headland. Shit, I'm just like, yeah, let's just do it. Just say it. Star Wars is gone. Karen Wars is what we've been dealing with. Hashtag Karen Wars. And that's what we're going to get. I just heard Nerd Rod. Now, look, I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I just heard Nerd Roddick talking about Dr. Karen.
Oh, yeah.
That's they're gonna start.
Dude, that's terrible. Like, I've been a Doctor Who fan for years. And Peter Capaldi and his companion, they were bad enough, but once they went woke, dude, it's the same thing with Picard and like his he's like a robot now, and
look,
he has a bunch of like high powered women flying his ship for him.
I'm not a Who fan. I'm not going to claim to be. I've enjoyed episodes here and there. When I was young, it would come on PBS, so I would see like the early Doctor Who episodes. So I'm familiar with like the early Doctors, and I've seen some of the stories. As a kid, I enjoyed them, but I just never followed that. My dad was a Star Trek fan. Dad was, and then one magical summer, I went to my cousin's house, and she was a big Star Wars fan. Yeah, because there was no girls, and of course there was no girls in the Star Wars fandom before. That's never thing, right?
No,
my cousin. She had walkers. She had the Falcon. She had a chest full of figurines. She loved Star Wars.
I think what the chat wants to know, Steven, is she hot?
She was a pretty young woman when I knew her. I haven't seen her in
I know. Well, that's
30 years. I haven't seen her in 30 years.
That's like a potential unicorn, and you're dangling the horn for us. So.
But she loved Star Wars. She got me to loving Star Wars so much that we would watch it in Spanish. We didn't speak Spanish. We would watch it in Spanish just to watch it in a different way.
Fucking watch it. That's
just
awesome.
Just to see, just for something new. And it was strange to watch.
Yo soy su padre.
Yeah, dude, it was really cool. Dude, this is back in the day. I'm talking about Star Wars in Spanish on Betamax.
Oh. Okay. With
Betamax.
You got the little line of interference that goes up every now and then. You had to adjust the tracking.
Yeah, the troll, the Hana. Yeah, you put the
dude, and you like smack the side of the TV and
yeah, but when I found Star Wars, I loved Star Wars, and Star Wars was my thing because I've always been mystical minded. You're the same way, Immortal. You're mystical minded. You're spiritual,
yes, sir. It's tough talking to a crystal skull right now. So.
Yeah, dig it. So Star Wars really reached out to me in that way, in a philosophical, spiritualist kind of way. The idea of the light and the dark side. Yeah. This is before the Sith. This is back when Vader was a dark Jedi, and I really liked that kind of idea of balance, and then there being a dark and a light, and and trying to stay in the light with the temptations of the dark. Like I really enjoyed that. But my dad, he brought me up on Star Trek, so Star Trek will always be like my first love, but Star Wars is that really close second.
Well, and I'll tell you this, man, Star Trek and some of the spiritual aspects of Star Wars really formed major components of my personality, which is why like Picard, the downfall of him has really hurt because Picard was a major hero of mine, along with Data and Worf for their own reasons. But yeah. I mean, it's a funny place we find ourselves in.
It is, and being in this big fandom that we're in, with all these different voices, I've heard all kinds of different things, like pertaining to Star Trek. I've heard my position has always been, if I binge watch TNG, every third time I'll start from season 1 and go through season 7 because I like it from season 4 to 7. Those are my favorite seasons.
Right, like the Pulaski episodes we don't want to talk about.
Right. Well, but then you've got people that say, you know what, the first and second and a little bit of the third season was better than the rest of it. And when I ask those people about it, they say because the first season felt like old Star Trek. And if you go back,
sure,
and watch it, yeah, it does. It does kind of honor TOS, like
sure.
And that's the difference.
Down to the orange planet that they always went to. Right? I don't know why.
Down to the episode where apparently Data has blood now. In the first where they were honoring an episode.
He can get drunk, sure.
Yeah, well, they were honoring an episode from TOS where
Tasha shakes your ass.
God, that Tasha. Where the crew was infected with this, this thing in their blood.
Yeah, so the Naked Now and the Naked Time, it's the same virus. It just mutated.
Right. Yeah. Right. Thank you very much, brother. And so, I get it. I understand why I love it. And that was what I would call the Cobra Kai approach. Cobra Kai approached the Karate Kid fandom by reintroducing the old characters, getting us up to speed with them. They didn't make any radical shifts. All right. It would be the equivalent. If Luke Skywalker had gone on the path that he was on from Return of the Jedi into Episode 8, or should have been in 7, but into Episode 8, he would not be a defeated old hermit living on an island in the middle of nowhere, right? He wouldn't. Nope. He'd be the head of a Jedi Order. He would be the Grand Master. So it would be the equivalent of taking the what's his name, Mike. Not Mike, Johnny, taking the Johnny character from Karate Kid, and then fast forward, and him not being what he is in Cobra Kai right now, but instead he is the one running the dealership, and Daniel LaRusso is defeated. That would have been like a Ryan Johnson type move with that franchise, but they didn't do. They went ahead. Daniel is successful, but he still has those character flaws that he had from before. And so is Johnny. Johnny still has those character flaws he had from before, and that led him down from like being that guy that peaked in high school. And
sure,
they get you used to the characters again. Then they introduce the new characters, and now who knows where those characters are going to go? I hope Johnny becomes the anti-hero. I love Johnny.
I hope everybody has seen that show by now. But spoiler alert: I hope that kid wakes up in the hospital.
Oh,
I mean, he had like a brain hematoma.
Dude, that fight scene.
Yeah.
That fight scene at the end of the second season was great. Something completely ridiculous that would never happen in a real high school. That shit would have been shut down.
Even in the mall, man. Like where the fuck are all the police in California?
Right.
They're chasing OJ.
But yeah, so that's what TNG did. TNG did their best to honor the original lore, TOS, in the first and second season. They realized that they had tweaks that they needed to make, and they began making them. And then, in my opinion, by the fourth season, it found its own footing. It became its own show.
Dude, with Best of Both Worlds, it completely flipped the whole show. That was peak TNG.
Dude, my favorite episode of TNG is Relics. My favorite one, when Scotty, when they find Scotty.
You soured the milk.
Yeah, right. And they reconstructed the NCC 1701 bridge, the original Constitution class bridge, and he was in there in the hollow deck. And I mean,
Aldebaran whiskey.
Yeah, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I love that episode. And thank God they had him on before he passed away.
Before he passed, well, DeForest Kelley too.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, let's go ahead and tether this conversation back to Earth. If you could do me a favor, Steven, look in our Fourth Wave chat and find the FAA article with our favorite scoundrel in it. Go ahead and screen share that when you can.
Any questions in the chat? Anybody, any comments or anything?
Let's go ahead. Yeah, that's actually a good thing. So Angelus Draven, he is a Doctor Who fan, and yes, it has taken a nosedive. Yeah, Clara Draven, I wish the Doctor would just slap Clara across the face for everything she's worth. CJH says Clone Wars, Rogue One, and Mandalorian are tolerable, so that's obviously a play. Angelus also enjoyed Solo. That's
yeah, it wasn't amazing. You're right, Angelus. You're totally right. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. There were moments I enjoyed. I don't like certain things about it.
Did you like Chewie and Han showering together?
I thought it was funny for what it was. You know what I mean?
What did you think of Fembot?
Fembot was just so horrible. And honestly, watching it, I really believe that Lord and Miller were making a parody of feminists with that character.
I would hope so. And before it was fucked with, right?
Right. Before, but they didn't have time to erase it. There was only so much that Ron Howard could do. I didn't like some of the characters, some of the actors from the beginning. Like I can't think of her name. Jesus, I'm so terrible at this. The lady that was that's in Westworld.
Was that Kira?
No, not Kira. Oh, I love her. The black woman. I adore her. Look, I adore her for a few reasons. One, I've loved every movie she's been in. I loved her in Riddick 2. Mm-hmm. And she was naked as fuck so much.
Tara
season 1.
I know who you're talking about. She was
oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
Them boobs. So I would have liked to see more of her. What I was disappointed in is if Disney had cared about the original fandom, the legacy fandom, and given us a good 7 and a good 8, Solo probably would have done better than it did, and we would be getting more Darth Maul on screen. And I don't care what anybody says. I like Darth Maul. I know they kind of had to bring him back in a bullshit way just because of how much people love that character. But dude, when the Phantom Menace came out, all my shit was Darth Maul. My blanket was Darth Maul. My figurines were Darth Maul. Yep. I love that guy. I didn't agree with them killing him like they did, but I like Qui-Gon Jinn too. But
so CJH says Luke Skywalker went off to explore the Wills, excuse me. I believe if I remember the Crucible, they could have done that story. Well, and that's one of the things, CJH, that we always bitch about is Kathleen Kennedy came out at one point and said, well, it's not like we don't have like a bunch of lore to draw off of.
Right.
Bullshit, bitch. You canceled lore.
Yes, you canceled it. Look, the idea of the Wills was bringing the Force back to a spiritual element. The reason that we had the first iteration of the Phantom Menace back in 1999, 2000. No, 2000, 2001. The first iteration of the Phantom Menace had a problem with the childlike storytelling, the midichlorians, all that. And this was Lucas trying to get back to the spiritual side of it. That's what the original treatments for 7, 8, and 9 would have been. Getting to the spiritualism, and the mysticism of it, which would have been great. Would have been so good. But I mean, now, mind you, would have been so good if Lucas had someone else directing it. Lucas is a great storyteller, not really a good story executor.
Well, and that's evidenced by the final 2 movements of his original act. So, yeah, he brought in somebody else to do Empire, which is arguably the best film that's in that. Yes. Yeah, and then he brought even somebody else in to do Return of the Jedi. So
yeah.
So I agree with that statement. He is a much better overall concept guy, and he can walk around to all his departments and be like, yeah, do that. This thing looks okay. Change that, but hire somebody else to glue it together. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Hire somebody else to tell the story, but it has to be someone with, a proven
pedigree.
Pedigree. It has to be someone that's proven, it's JJ recycles old elements. I mean, I know early JJ was better. Some people say is better than what he's produced as of late.
Were you a fan of his Star Trek original movie reboots?
Okay. When the first one came out, when the first reboot came out, to me, I said that makes sense to reboot it. Now, the way that they went, I thought it was just going to be an alternate timeline the whole way. You know what I mean? Like, I thought they were just going to run with an alternate timeline like history. And to me, that doesn't offend me because it doesn't really affect canon. But now that we are in Star Trek Discovery and Picard world, and we know that is canon, that is what they're presenting as canon, I'm less likely to go back and enjoy those films now because I look at it as the beginning of an infection.
But I still want to cling to that belief that it is indeed an alternate time reality because of Spock's time travel.
Well,
so that could easily be like, you know, you go and touch Spock on the shoulder and be like, this is illogical. And then like that whole thing goes away.
It could. Like, I'm just hoping that, you know, I'm hoping that Sherry Redstone, who does love Star Trek, you know, gets full control of this situation. And we bring, going to take one scene from John Delancey to fix all this. That's all it's going to take.
One snap.
One snap. That's
One
all
snap.
it takes. You have a way out right there. You have John Delancey come in, look around, and say, oh, I don't remember it like this. This is wrong. Then, you know, we go, and then look, you can still have like the updated graphics. I have no problem with updated graphics or updating the way the look or any of that. But you know, do that and then give us some Martok while John Hetzler still physically able to perform the part, you know.
Well, and imagine that, like he snaps his fingers and we wake up in the Starfleet Academy. You remember that episode where they're in bed together and he's like rubbing his earlobe and he goes, "Are you awake, Jean-Luc?" Or, you know, Jean-Luc's like, ah.
Oh, you know what? CJH says he did a good job with Revenge of the Sith, though. Yes, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie.
All of them.
Very closely behind. And the thing is that I can't really put the OT and the PT in the same category, you know, 1 through 6. I can't really do it because the original, first of all, Star Wars was meant to be a one and done. You know, what later became known as A New Hope. That was a one and done.
Sure.
The Empire Strikes Back was just, it's perfection. It's storytelling, science fiction saga, perfection. And it continued on something that was meant to be done right at the end, right at the metal scene. Because let's face it, guys. The Empire wasn't destroyed when the Death Star was destroyed. Why are hundreds of these mofos having a medal ceremony on Yavin? They should be bugging out. You know, so you that just right there, that scene alone doesn't make sense. So it tells you that it was a one and done. They were saying Death Star's done, the Empire's done. The Empire was able to pick up with that and run with it and gave us some of the best science fiction ever. So encapsulated, nothing compares to that. Like nothing compares to that. So when I say Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie, I'm looking at the prequels, and the original trilogy in the sense of how much I enjoy the story.
Sure.
But when it comes to Empire, like there's nothing. Empire's better. Empire's better than almost every other sci-fi movie you will ever see.
But I think in Sith we understand why Darth Vader was so fucking evil and why I Am Your Father had such a devastating effect to Skywalker, the younger, young. Well, all right, sir. Do you got that? Yes, you do. We're gonna bring this back down to earth a little bit with a kind of a funny story in a ironic way. Harrison Ford is under FAA investigation after making a pilot's error.
My eyes went straight to the Tiger King. I can't.
Dude,
sorry.
What is up with this mother? Joe Exotic. I actually heard Trump was asked to pardon this guy from jail.
Yes.
I don't know if he did or if he's, supposed to, but
I hope that he does, because I would like a Tiger King season 2. And
I actually think they use the same hair color bleach.
Look, I do not condone Joe Exotic's business practices.
No, or threatening people's lives.
Nope.
Offering, yeah.
But if you look at okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting way off topic. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. No, let's take a brief sojourn. There's plenty of article here. It's Fox News, people.
But I look at, look, if you look at the type of personality that he was, and this chick Carol Baskin, right, who did the same shit he was doing before she decided to flip the script and act like and be an SJW, really, as far as the animal kingdom goes, calling other people out for doing the same shit that she's doing. Her husband disappears. Like she has no scruples. Carol Baskin killed her husband. They just got to find the evidence.
She's a cunning fucking bitch, man.
She's a terrible person.
Straight up.
And so Joe, coming at her at first, I totally get, because she was messing with his money. Not that I agree with, now, mind you, I do not agree with his business practices. Right. But as to go as far as it did, like he did do that to himself. He did do that to himself in the end. Yep. But he doesn't. I don't. 19 years in prison for.
Well, and I did a video on this. One of Joe and even Carol's mistakes was inappropriate use of internet media. Mm-hmm. So they were one of the first people to have like Facebook and live streaming and like internet shows and like even things that you could consider to be precursors of what we do now. Yeah. And they went on and like made fun of each other and lambasted each other, and even went to the point where they're executing each other in music video and you can argue it's parody. Oh, it's parody. But no, right. I mean, you get to a certain point where it's not parody, and that's the danger when you're reaching out. Like, and this is what I've always said to the Phantom Menace is like, are you going after people or are you going after entertainment? Because you might want to rethink your channel. That's all I'll say about that, man.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah, dig it.
Okay.
Sorry. My bad. I'm smoking.
You're good. Yeah.
Hold on.
Steven is choking on the wisdom that I just laid down right now. You'll have to excuse him for a second.
All right, I'm good.
From time to time, even the author Stephen Walton gets choked up.
Yeah, that's what it is. Totally. Harrison Ford under FAA investigation for making error while operating plane on runway.
What?
What's going on here?
Go ahead and read this to us, Stephen, in your buttery voice.
Sure. Oh, look, there he is again. There's the Tiger King again.
Man, they are really hard for this guy.
Well, nobody expected this to be as big as it was, and really it's because everybody's stuck inside. And
yeah, Palanuki doesn't even fucking care about this.
Palanuki, if you want to understand what white trash America is like, you need to check out Tiger King. Okay. It says...
All right. What do we have this?
It's better than Honey Boo Boo, bro. I couldn't.
Can
even
you blow this up? Like, this looks tiny to me. Can you just like enlargen the actual text?
Probably, like, but I don't know how.
No, it's okay. Okay, I trust everybody else can see this.
Harrison Ford is being
go ahead.
Harrison Ford is being investigated for making an error while operating a plane this week in California, according to a report. A representative for the actor, who is an avid flyer, confirmed to Fox News that he was involved in a runway incursion at the Hawthorne Airport in Southern California on April 24th. Mr. Ford crossed the airport's only runway in his aircraft after he misheard a radio instruction from ATC. He immediately acknowledged the mistake and apologized to ATC for the error. The rep shared in a statement, the purpose of the flight was to maintain currency and proficiency in the aircraft. The representative confirmed no one was injured and there was never any danger of a collision. Okay. How dangerous is coronavirus? How does that have anything to do with what?
No, it's garbage tier media, dude.
Yeah, no, it's fucking Fox, man. Look, all right, whatever. According to airport audio obtained by TMZ, Ford 77 failed to follow a tower operator's direction to hold short on the runway due to the traffic, and he was operating the aircraft from a runway to the taxiway. In the audio recording, the operator scolds the actor for not following his instructions. Get across the runway now. I told you hold short. You need to listen up, the operator says. Excuse me,
I'll see you in hell. I'm sorry.
Harrison motherfucking Ford. He ain't got to do shit. Excuse me, sir. I thought exactly the opposite. I'm terribly sorry, Ford responds. The TMZ reported that another plane was reportedly 3,600 feet from Ford's craft. TMZ claims an official for the Federal Aviation Administration said the incident is now under investigation. In 2015, Ford crashed his vintage World War II plane at a Los Angeles golf course.
He fucked himself up. Remember that?
That didn't stop him from doing the hobby he loves, however, as he hopped back into the pilot seat just 3 months later.
Okay, now here is the thing is, even though you are the world's or the galaxy's most clever smuggler. If you don't have Chewbacca in the seat next to you, man, stand down.
Wow.
Yeah, fly over a golf course. Don't go near other aircraft. And why do I want him to be like why do I want him to be Chuck Yeager? Why do I want him to be Charles Lindbergh, Stephen Walton?
Why? I want Harrison Ford and Jeff Bridges dressed as the dude, flying in planes all the time. Just land them randomly at airports. That's what I want.
Yeah, well, do you know Ron White where he's like, yeah, I got an airplane and they were like, how long do you think it'll take the paramedics to get here? And he goes, well, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, Harrison Ford has. Who can really remember a single article about Harrison Ford doing anything dastardly? Okay, there are definitely clips where he's been a jerk, instances where he's been a jerk, but Harrison Ford is like old Hollywood, man. There's a certain level of respect that is maintained.
Sure.
Older Hollywood actors, that older Hollywood culture, pre-SJW culture. And let the man fly a plane. Don't yell at old Harrison Ford. You know what I mean?
Thousands of feet is still kind of close as far as airplanes are concerned because of how fast they're going. But it's like, what are you saying, buddy?
He didn't care when he was acting. Now he doesn't care when he's flying.
Fuck no, dude. Harrison Ford doesn't give a shit. He's probably flying with one hand and looking in the back but this also begs the question. So this would be tantamount to, rest her soul, if Carrie Fisher made a faux pas on the UN Assembly Council. It was like, I think everybody here should go and fuck themselves. And you're like, wait a sec, you're a senator. You're a princess. You're a diplomat. You can't say that at the UN, Carrie Fisher.
Yes, you can.
But she would. She would, from what I hear. From all the lovely stories I've heard.
Carrie Wood, another example of old Hollywood. She grew up in that Hollywood life.
She was royalty.
She was royalty, and she did her stints with drugs and God damn it, I love these characters. I love these actors who played some of the characters that I loved. We had one chance for good Star Wars. I'm sorry to bring it back around to Star Wars, y'all, but they had one chance to do this right.
You blew it. Charlton Heston, you blew it.
I do not want to see an Indiana Jones 5. I do not want to see Harrison unless they play him like Sean Connery in number 4, right? I mean number 3 in The Last Crusade. Right. Yeah. Sean Connery was smart, but he wasn't athletic. He wasn't running around. He wasn't swinging from a freaking whip. He played like an old man. And if they did that with Indy and gave us a protege that is not Shia fucking LaBeouf, I'm down. I don't care what gender it is. I don't care. Just, a good, well-written character. I really feel bad about the disrespect that was given to him. I could see, I could actually see the character of Indiana Jones not eventually having a family, like a stay-at-home family, but definitely having kids all over the world, like a string of franchises. I could see that. So let's bring in another franchise kid. Not Shia LaBeouf, from somewhere else in the world.
No. I'm sure Indiana Jones had many kids.
He was banging chicks all over the world.
Dude.
Indy was banging chicks
everywhere.
Yeah.
Every time you didn't see him on screen, man, it's like when the Enterprise flies by, Riker's getting some ass.
Riker's getting laid. When he got married, he really was done.
He's like, look, I'm like 60. I love Deanna, but
let me have a kid with this broad before her vagina dries up.
Yeah, totally. I had a holodeck. I had an alien kid with a holodeck woman.
Right. Look at Waxana, right? Waxana had a kid. She was, in human terms, well beyond menopause, right? Yeah. So apparently, her species can have kids. Beta Zeds can have kids. Women can have kids much further along than human women can.
Well, it's like the older they get, the more wound up they get. Too. That's what I remember.
Riker could have been banging chicks till he was 50. His balls started to hang. He said, "All right, I'm just going to marry this chick, and I'm just going to pump out some kids." I'm down with that storyline.
Well, and what if Deanna was cool and she's like, "Yeah, why don't you show me what you would do?" And he's like, "Okay."
Deanna would get jealous of other chicks.
She would, dude. She would. She has that fucking dark side psychic power too. So she would fuck up some.
Deanna ain't having no threesomes. All right, she's not down with that life. But
and I think my favorite Riker moment was in The Perfect Mate, and you remember she was like, "Oh, you were curious," and she made out with him a little bit, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna back off for a sec," and he wipes his forehead and he goes, "Bridge, if you need me, I'll be in holodeck too."
Can you imagine Deanna being in love with Riker for all that time and seeing him go through all that pussy? I mean, to the point where Riker was banging an androgynous chick, like a genderless person.
He was banging an SJW. Let's go ahead.
Planet SJW, and
he was It's out there, folks.
Riker would hit anything. Thomas was the cool. Thomas Riker was the cool.
Thomas,
cool Riker.
Yeah, he stayed at home and learned art. He got his phaser beam refined to the point where he can make waterfalls.
Thomas Riker said, "Fuck this shit, fuck the Federation," and went and fought for the Maquis.
Yeah,
he stole the Defiant. What was about to nuke Cardassia? Thomas Riker had some balls.
He did. He was smart as Riker, as cunning as Riker, but he had different moral scope than Riker. So, what are you going to get? Yeah.
And it looks at the changes that it also is an extension of what Riker could have been, because without the experiences that Riker had in his life, he could have been Thomas Riker. And just like in the one episode we were talking about with Q when that's right. It was the episode when Picard got shot in the heart. His synthetic heart was failing, and he was about to die.
Tapestries, yes, sir.
Yeah, and then you look at him in the future when they go from that when he has a real heart, and he's like a pleb. He's like a lieutenant in space fucking cartography or some shit. He never achieved anything, which is probably most likely the Picard we have in Star Trek Picard.
Deanna called him Mr. Picard. I remember that.
I know, Mr. Picard. Imagine. So, I mean, where the fuck did we start this conversation at? Oh, Riker getting laid.
Yeah.
Riker got laid. Like Kirk got laid.
Kirk got laid.
And just as much as, and look, if Geordi had been a little more scrupulous, he would have banged every white woman on the Enterprise.
Right.
He loved his white women. Loved his white women.
You want to go and see main engineering?
Oh, dude.
Let me show you why Gardner wears funny hats.
It's weird how you look at actors from different eras and you see different things. I was talking with my dad the other day about Geordi LaForge, and he was like, I kind of had a problem with Geordi at first. I was like, why did you have a problem with him? He said, because when I saw him, I saw Kuta Kente. And as I told you, my dad's fucking racist.
That's how he landed the role.
I'm sure when he saw Roots, he was like, rah, 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 you know what I mean?
Well, Roddenberry saw Roots, and that's why he wanted,
I saw him from reading Rainbow. That was the guy every week when I was a kid that would read me a story. That he was right after Mr. Rogers. That was, he was part of my every weekend mornings when I was a little kid. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, that is awesome. The reading Rainbow guy. Mm-hmm. Two different perspectives, but all in all.
I'll tell you this real fast, Steven. This is how the COVID virus affected me. I had tickets to the Seattle Comic-Con where LeVar Burton was a panelist because of the same thing you said. Reading Rainbow was very deep to me. Fucking Captain Planet, it was kind of dumb, but I watched it. And Star Trek, The Next Fucking Generation. And then COVID-19 took it all away.
That's fucked up. Captain Planet, I watched Captain. Matter of fact, Captain Planet.
He's a hero.
He was well, no, I mean it was for
He's
what it
gonna
was.
take pollution down to
Back
zero.
Yeah, right. Right. But, I mean, Earth Day was big in the '80s, and at the time that was a thing that we needed to talk about.
Sure.
And still do to an extent to this day. But it was things like Captain Planet, the X-Men,
Yes.
God, He-Man, Transformers. These things were the basis of the books that I write, the Elemental Saga. And honestly, the whole idea. I mean, my original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too. Like my original team had like 4 people in it. Now it's like 6. Different people with different affinities to different elements. Can I say different one more goddamn time? Like again, like Captain Planet. Yeah, that was a creative influence to me, and probably to many others. Even though it was kind of corny. But He-Man was kind of corny.
He-Man was totally corny, dude.
And then to an extent, the later seasons of Transformers got kind of fell off a little bit. But.
Well, yeah, and even like I love X-Men. By the way I look, I love X-Men, but there was some like huge cheese in the animated series, and even in the movies that they couldn't quite cut to without an R rating. So
you're right, but what I did appreciate was in that first X-Men movie when they were all in the Black Hawk and or the Blackbird.
Yeah,
and Wolverine put his his claws out to make holes for his claws, and Cyclops looks at him and he only retracts 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's like a little. That's for us. That was for us.
Oh yeah.
Like, look, full on Wolverine, but here.
Well, and same thing. Like they're trying to fight Mystique, and she's changing in everybody, and he's like, "Prove to us you're Wolverine." And he goes, "Scott, you're a dick." And he goes, "Yeah, that's him."
Yeah. I liked what they tried to do with the first movie, although I was very disappointed with Sabretooth. That was not Sabretooth.
No,
Toad?
that was like a US. Yeah. Ray Park.
Yeah, Ray Park.
Darth
Maul.
Yeah,
he was great as Toad. That was a really good representation of that character. Storm could have been a little better, but I like Halle Berry. I liked her. They could have, if they had given her more, someone had worked with her on giving her an African accent, because Storm's from Africa, yo.
Well, and this is the big rumor, is that they're going to introduce mutants through the next Black Panther movie, because Storm was a bride of T'Challa, and she was like the goddess of fucking weather.
Really?
So, yeah, I will find the article somewhere and send it to you. But yeah, that's the rumor that I've heard. And geez, but how do you top Halle Berry, Steve?
You can't.
She
top
is like
Halle Berry's. You can't.
She
top
is
those
like
Berries.
a marvel of female engineering.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. And crazy to boot. So it's gone. It's fire down there. It's great. Crazy girl.
The cost and the benefits.
Yeah. So, I mean, like right there, crazy. So it's good.
This is the Savage Edition, people. We expect it. All right.
But yeah, I mean, Halle Berry absolutely was a great casting choice. I mean, she could still do it if they wanted her to. She still looks great.
Oh yeah.
But you got to give us the African accent. You got to at least fake that. Have you ever seen God, what was it? The Juggernaut. Was it Juggernaut bitch? You ever see the Juggernaut bitch video?
Dude, one of my early, like before I had like the skull and like the slideshow, one of my videos was reacting to the Juggernaut bitch.
Me and my friend were fighting at a time. And we were very close friends. Now he's a amateur MMA fighter. Like, he had a legit record. And so he would kill me. He was like part Mexican, part Belize, and part something else, Latino cat. And but we were fighting because I don't back down for nobody. Even I don't care. I've been to the hospital enough times in my life. You ain't shut me the F up if I got something I need to say. And so we were having that conversation, and thankfully my man just walked away because he could have crushed me. And we're sitting on the opposite ends of this house because we were both renting a house together this time, and mad as shit at one another. And he says, "Steve, you got to come here." I was like, "I don't feel like talking." He goes, "No, you don't understand, bro. You need to come here right now. Just forget everything and come here." And we sat down and watched the Juggernaut bitch video.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Laughed for 20 minutes straight, watching it over and over again, and we were done. It was argument squashed. Juggernaut bitch brought us. But there was a when they have Storm in the Juggernaut bitch. Storm's talking like crazy African, you know, like she flies in. Like that's what we should have. We should have like that's over. You know, that's parody, but that's more like.
I love that shit, man. Because every time I see, it's like, shut the fuck up, Charles. We'll break you in half, Charles.
Break you in half. Juggernaut bitch is some of the great. Now, there's words in there that you can't say and that we can't say, but
sure.
You know, he's like when he's carrying that chick over his shoulder and busting the room and said it's going to be a party. You know, like oh my god, this is ridiculous. How are
I'm
you
gonna take my prize? No, then what's his name gets off the plane and he's like, my name's Ketchup, and then like get down and he throws him over the horizon. Dude, it was like a Looney Tunes cartoon. I love that shit.
Those guys were great. I love that video, and I'll always remember it because you know because of that moment, because it was like the only thing that could keep us from killing each other was the Juggernaut bitch.
I hope somebody gave them a job. Well, Steven, it's about time to wind down. I wanted to thank you for coming on and just if you got like your next couple of shows to shout out.
Next show that I'm going to be on, Hail Orville Nation, who is in the chat. Orville has been killing it. PJ is my man. I'm so happy for him and the growth of his channel and the people that he's had on and the interviews he's been doing. I mean, there are legit things I check out because PJ is going to be on it, or some of the people that he works with, you know, his like normal crew is on different shows, and I'll go check those shows out because I love the group that he has assembled. And so go check out Orville Nation if you haven't. It's really fun, dude. I watched a live stream about Doctor Who. I don't even watch Doctor Who. I have no dog in that fight, and I watched the interview because the people that were talking were just really cool, informative fans of a franchise, and I was there to support them, as you know, from one franchise to another. Hail, but anyway, Hail PJ, thank you, brother, for everything that you do, man. I appreciate every time you come around and every invitation you throw out when you can. I understand it's hard because we carry a hashtag that some people don't necessarily like to be associated with, but it really means a lot that you still talk to us and you're in our chats and you reach out to us and you get us involved when, you know, the availability presents itself. That speaks a lot to your character, and we thank you for understanding who we are here in the fandom and being a friend to us. Hail Orville Nation.
Well, he's been very opening to even a guy like me. I just crossed 200 like last week, so the fact that he's just like, yeah, you know, fucking come on in and talk to us, being in the chat. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm doing the Pegasus Actual podcast, and we're having a guest. Forgive me, I cannot remember her name. PJ, if you could put it in the chat. It was someone that Drew had met on one of PJ's shows, and she's also a Battlestar Galactica fan. And she is kind of, from what I understand, is she's kind of on the left side of the aisle, maybe a little out there, further than some of us are comfortable with, but she loves Battlestar Galactica, so she's going to come on the Pegasus Actual podcast because the fandom first off shouldn't not like someone just because they have a certain perspective on things, but also fandom should be all inclusive. And the Battlestar is such, I think it gives credit to the fact that Battlestar was such a good show across the board, and in my opinion, that it can bring different types of people together to show their appreciation and love for a show that was done well. And that's what you can do when you do escapism properly, when you're not trying to inject your ideology, when you're not trying to ham-fist people, when you're not trying to fandom engineer people away from a product they've supported for decades, when you just produce escapism and people can look at it objectively and say, I like that, or I don't like that, or I love that, or I hate that. And not because of any kind of political bias that has been put into the film by the people creating it. That's what fandom is really about. That's what we need to get back to arguing about our favorite characters in X-Men, or who's better than who, or why is Anakin better than Luke, or these are the things we should be discussing. We're talking about these things in fandom, and instead we're having to fight for our right to have opinions. So I am happy to have he didn't put it in there. Kat. Yep, Kat. I'm happy to have Kat come on and spend some time with us at the Pegasus Actual Podcast with Drew and Raquel. I don't think Script Doctor is going to be able to make it. Not sure if Bear Nerd Fun will be able to make it, but check us out on Supreme Heretics channel at 9:00 tomorrow night, where we do retro reviews of Battlestar Galactica and just try to have fun.
Well, then I also want to say another show that's very much in our consciousness is TR4. You guys have hit upon some really good formulamatic elements. So what is that on Tuesday? And do you have your own channel, or what's going on with that?
TR4 is a show that we have on Tuesdays. Starts at 6:30. So Scott usually comes on a little later because he has to put his kids to bed. Final gets there if he can, because it's kind of early for you guys on the 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast. So it's a little early for you guys over there on the West Coast. But you will always see from the get, you should always see myself, Jane Theory, and Lorena Creole with Final Death Star and Sporking News Podcast. And we talk about everything. We try to cover just about everything we can cover, and from the perspective of people. Like there's certain limitations that are put on us depending on the types of panels that we're on, and we always feel like we can't speak on a subject unless someone's there from a perspective that can give it. It's very different. So we have very different people on this panel. You have a very moderate Sporking who leans. Who can lean left and right on the way he sees things. The conservative Lorena Creole. We Jane Theory, who is the very strong moderate. I'm not sure which way she lands. And then you got me, who was a traditional, 90s liberal. So you have a lot of different types of personalities discussing different things. And we get into some deep ass discussions, man. We will talk about racism. We will talk about sexism. We will get into it. We will talk about what we don't feel we understand and what we need more understanding on across racial lines between all of us. There's two multiracial people on the panel. So we just get into it, man. We're not afraid to talk or ask questions on that show. So come join us if you want to get a little more serious. And we also try and have fun and laugh while we're doing it. Yeah, that's about TR4. I'm really happy with that crew and that show.
Well, I'm really happy that the fourth wave is growing and including so many talents. You seem to have a knack for picking up people, much in the same way that our buddy Black Angus Reviews had. So,
hail to Black Angus, who just got his Fandom Collective card. And I got one the day before him. I love what the Fandom Collective out there is doing, and I thank them very much for doing what they do. And Black Angus, one of the founders of the Fandom Collective, one of the first people to reach out to me and help me out. And Angus has some views that some people can't handle, and he also doesn't hold back on his opinions. And right. Some don't like him for that, or don't like him for his opinions, and steer clear of him and so forth. But
it's also one of those things. Like, I think one of the founding principles of the Phantom Menace is you should be able to have your own views.
Exactly.
You should be able to make up your own mind, whether you agree with them or not. But everybody has a right to exist. And as an organizer, man, he is peerless. But that sort of skill I sense in you, and bringing together so many things. Just being in the fourth wave community chat. I see so many unique creators, and that sort of thing needs to be encouraged. Anybody with a brain in their head and a microphone, sound off. Let us know who you are. We see you in the chat, and we look forward to embracing you.
When I started that community chat, I was thinking that I wanted to help support the community, right? Because I was brought in by Fandom Collective. Fandom Collective brought the author Stephen Walton, the Fandom Menace historian, was given a chance, given a platform by the Fandom Collective. They brought me in. they brought attention to what I was doing. So you know, they do a lot of stuff and have been for a long time. You know, so when I made the community chat, I said to myself, I had seen what Mary had done with KOTOR.
Yeah.
And you know, there's another group that helped platform me. Mary was instrumental as well in
Mary Mayhem.
Mayhem, you know, hail to her.
Yeah.
A lot of different people were, and so I wanted to create something and add to that, because the Phantom Collective says rise together, and I like we rise together. That's I like that, but they're rise together, same kind of feeling. So I really wanted to reach out to other creators who were, you know, in the low hundreds like me, who were, you know, who wanted to network, because I realized that early on, that even though we may have chances to get on some of these other shows like Nerdrotic or Midnight's Edge or something like that, which is good for us, you know, in exposure and growth. And I'm thankful to them for doing that. Really, when it comes down to us creating our own groups, we can't depend on them. We can't be expectant that with everything they've got going on, for them to come down all the time and help lift us up. We have to be that supporting body for each other. And so that's what I want the fourth wave of the Fandom Menace community chat to be. You know, that's the newer guys helping each other. We got, you know, I just brought memes in there. Memes is funny as shit. I never interact with memes once. Thomas Gilkey's birthday, memes comes out of nowhere without his shirt on. Next thing you know, the whole panel's and we're doing gay memes, and it was funny as shit. You know, so I like that. So I brought memes in. Orville's in there. You know, Snowdub, the Cotton Connection's in there. Snowdub, K-Log, you know, like
K-Log.
Right. And they kind of move in all different kinds of circles, even the Gray Order circles. They've gone on their shows a few times, but they're good dudes. These are people that I've talked to for, you know, a long time, for well over a year now, and have always been
Hell trans fat.
So, you know, I want that to be a community builder, you know, and with the same kind of attitude. And then when the time comes, when we're in the tens of thousands, you know, like OG Star Wars was the first one of us took off. OG Star Wars just took right off.
She shot right to the top. I saw that.
You know, and so I want to see all of us kind of get to that point, if we can, you know, if we work hard enough. And once we get there, then it's going to be our turn to turn around, help the fifth and sixth wave out, you know, the next wave of people coming up. But yeah, that's why I created that, because I didn't think that it would be. I don't think that it's respectful to expect these larger Fandom Menace channels to platform us. We get on there, great. If they have a chance to reach out and have us on, that's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm definitely going to take that opportunity. But really, it needs to be the Immortal Coils and the author Stephen Walton supporting each other. It needs to be the Black Anguses and the, you know, and the Snowdubs and the Lethal Lightning supporting one another. It's you know, some of us are going to grow faster than others. Lethal shot up, Drunk shot up, Mary Mayhem shot up, Idle Jade shooting up, you know, OG Star Wars shot up, Mara Jade shooting up. Like, you know, we're going to rise at different levels and at different paces, but we all support each other. Then we rise together.
We sure do. Well, one more bit of wankery before I sign us off. I want to go ahead and show this. This is going to be Sunday. We spoke about Lethal Lightning. We're going to go over some more interesting aspects of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise on my Sunday show, Savage Spirituality. Now, I'm a member of the Fourth Wave. Thank you, Steven, for including me on this. But whereas the Wednesday show is more like catching up on current events, the Sunday show is where I can let my mind go wild. And just like we were talking about, Toph talking to a crystal skull, we might go into some uncharted categories if you guys care to join us. So just want to throw that out there. That's going to happen Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So from all of us at the Fourth Wave, thank you for joining us. One more shout out to the chat, you know, the CJH, Orville Nation, Palanuki, Black Angus. I saw you up there. And then Final and Scott. We appreciate all you guys. We love all you guys. And from all of us to all of you,